Namah
Om Sadashiva
Shiva
Samarambha Acharya Madhyama
Asmadacharya Paryanta Vande Parampara Om
Sahana
Vavatu
Sahana Bhunaktu
Bhunaktu
Sahaviryam Karavavahai
Karvavai
Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai
Vishwavahai
Om
Om
Shanti Shanti
Shanti
Shanti
Shanti Hari
Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
So we are continuing now with verse 117, Aparoksha Anubhuti. So please unmute yourself. We will chant. Drishtu darshana drishyanam
Darshanam
viramo yatra va bhavet
Viramo
Bhavare
drishtistatraiva kartavya
Drishtasatraiva kartavya
नासाग्रावलोकिनी
Nasagravalokini
हमारी छतरी बगड़ी आज
So,
तक यहाँ पर से बगड़ी गई थी बिजी नहीं ना वरसाद में
okay, I just, muted all of y'all. Somebody was talking. Right. So we talked about the meditation, and initially the way we start to meditate is closed eye meditation with the proper posture and all that. But what is Vedanta? Vedanta is trying to understand that the substratum, the very adhishthanam of everything is only Brahman, is only consciousness. And therefore, from the normal meditation, where we take up a posture and then, we are either visualizing the Ishtadevata or a mantra we are doing. That is a normal meditation process. Instead of that, we have to move. We have to move towards the idea that whatever I entertain, that is only Atma. And therefore, whatever Triputi is there, for example, when you do meditation, there is a Triputi. What is the Triputi? Supposing you are meditating on, say, Shiva Lingam.
Dhyatra Dhyeya Dhyeyam.
Dhyatra Dhyaya Dhyayam. So there is the meditator, there is the process of meditation, and there is the object of meditation. So if you are taking Shivalinga as the object, and the Dhyayam becomes Shivalingam. The Dhyatra is you sitting in that and engaging in the meditation. That is the Dhyayam, the process. But as I said, we have to move towards the idea that Brahman is the substratum of all these activities, all the Triputis, whichever Triputi I take, Brahman is the substratum. And therefore, how do I do that? I have to entertain the thought that I am Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Brahmasmi. That is the thought which I have to entertain. So this is entertaining a vritti, a thought. And that vritti requires the mind. So what does he say here? Drishta Darshana Drishyaha. Drishta Darshana Drishyaha Viramaha. You have to resolve the three things. Drishta, Darshana, Drishyaha. So Drishti is here the perceiver, the eyes of the instrument of perception, the eyes. Darshanam means the process of perception. And Drishya means the object of perception. Right? So the triput, this is the representative upalakshanam for all triputis. Drishta, darshana, drishyaha. The seer, the process of seeing, and the object of perception are being said. So how does it work? When this triputi arises, the eye becomes the instrument. From the standpoint of your eyes, you become the one who sees, and the perception happens. The object of perception comes into existence. Okay, similarly, any jnanendra you take, the eyes, the nose, everything will have a triputi consisting of the use of the instrument, the process of using it, and the object on which you use it. So drishta darshana drishyaha have to be resolved. So he says drishta darshana drishyanam viramo yatra va bhavet. When these triputi, when triputi is resolved, where in the Atma. Normally, if you take Sushupti, in Sushupti, your mind does not function and therefore the triputi is resolved. So in the Sushupti Avastha, I do not have the status of Adrishta, Adrik, a seer. I do not have. And since I do not have the status of Adrishta, I am not involved in the process of seeing, nor do I have something which I see. Drishyam is also not there. What is there? Only I, the consciousness principle is there. And therefore he says tatraiva. On that consciousness principle, tatra, on that Brahman, on that consciousness principle, which is all that remains after the triputi is resolved. Drishtihi kartavya. You should focus yourself. And what does that mean? You have to say that I have to own up this attributeless, pure consciousness as myself. I have to accept that this pure consciousness without any instrument, without any upadhi, that is what I am. And then he adds, na nasa grava lokini. That is the real meditation, not nasa agre avalokini. It should not be fixed. Your vision is not necessarily to be fixed on the tip of your nose. Nasa agre, tip of the nose. Lokini, avalokini. You should not be looking at your nose at all. What he is saying, the real meditation is not focusing on the tip of your nose and trying to visualize Ishtadevata or something. The real meditation is understanding that I am the Atma. Okay, so meditation has been taken up. Now we look at the next verse. The verse no 118. We will chant. Chittadi sarva bhaveshu
चित्तादि
चित्तादिसर्वभावेषु
ब्रह्मत्वेनैव भावनात्
ब्रह्मत्वेनैव
ब्रह्मत्वेनैव
भावना
भावना
विरोधः सर्ववृत्तीनाम्
निरोधः
निरोध
सर्ववृत्तीनां
सर्ववृत्तीनाम्
प्राणायामस उच्यते.
प्राणायामः स
प्राणायामोच्यते
उच्यते.
So he takes up the 11th limb, the 11th anga, which is called pranayama. And this we will be discussing in the three slokas, 118, 119 and 1120. Three slokas he uses for covering pranayama. So as before, let us recall what Yoga Shastra says about pranayama. Yoga Shastra says pranasya ayamaha is pranayama. Ayama means the regulation or control, and pranaha is the breath. So the control and regulation of the breath is prana. And this prana exists, of course, as we all know, in five-fold categorization. So he says by regulating this prana, indirectly you are regulating all the pancha prana, and therefore by pranayama not only will your breath be controlled, circulation will be controlled, excretion will be controlled, digestion will be controlled. All the pancha prana gets controlled when you do pranayama. This is all the Yoga Shastra aspect. Okay. Now, when I control pranayama, I am manipulating the pranayama kosha. And remember that yogic theory is that whenever you manipulate one kosha, you are also indirectly manipulating the koshas on either side. So, what are the koshas on either side of the pranayama kosha, pranamaya kosha?
Manomaya and Annamaya.
Manomaya and Annamaya.
Annamaya.
That is why we say that if you do pranayama, your physical health also improves because pranayama affects the Annamaya kosha also, and your mental health also improves because with pranayama you can touch the Manomaya kosha also. So it is just not the breathing. With pranayama, physical health. Annamaya is also manipulated. Manomaya is also manipulated. And therefore that is why with before meditation, pranayama is recommended because the mind becomes sattvic. Okay. And we have to recall Upadesha Saram. Vayurodhana liyate manaha jalapakshivad rodha sadhana. Do you remember what does it mean? Nobody? Upadesha Saram, very basic text. Vayurodhana, what does that mean? What is Rodhanam?
Control. Control
Holding.
over.
Holding.
Vayurodhana, with the control of the Vayu, manaha liyate. The mind is resolved. How? Jala pakshivat rodha sadhanam. Rodha sadhanam means an instrument of control, and therefore pranayama is an instrument of control. Jal pakshivat. Like what?
The bird in a cage.
No. Jala here is net. So, or it can be cage also. Cage also. Like the net that you throw over a bird to control its flight, or like the cage which you put to control the flight of the bird. So, like that is a sadhanam for control of the bird. Pakshi, your pranayama is a sadhanam for control of the mind. This is what is the yogic part of it. Okay. Okay. Now, as Advaitins, remember that we also accept pranayama in the beginning stages. Where does Krishna talk about pranayama?
Chapter 6.
Chapter 6. So, a lot of stuff about pranayama, right? But all this is for the Mandha Adhikari, for the beginner, Mandha Madhyama Adhikari. As you become Uttama Adhikari, remember the whole focus of this entire few verses that we have started now is that as you become an Uttama Adhikari, your emphasis should shift to Brahman. So from the body control, mind control, etc., we shift to Brahmanishta. Now let us recall there are three stages of pranayama in Yoga Shastra: inhaling, exhaling, and holding. What are they called? Technical terms.
Kumbhaka.
Puraka is breathing.
Puraka.
Kumbhaka is retaining the Vayu in the lungs. Why is it called Kumbhaka? You should learn to look at the words. What is a Kumbhak? Kumbhak, you don't know? Kumbhak is a pot. What do you do in a pot? You keep things in it, water in it. And the Kumbhaka means retaining the Vayu in the lungs. The lungs are your pot. That is why it's called Kumbhaka over here. And Rechaka is emptying the lungs. So Puraka, Kumbhaka, Rechaka. So Shankaracharya says similarly, we also have in Vedantic pranayama, we'll have Puraka, Kumbhaka, and Rechaka. So he says you have to learn to look at the chitta as Brahman. So he says, Chittadi sarva bhaveshu brahmatvenaiva bhavanat. Look at the antakaranam. What are the four aspects? Chittam, Mana, Buddhi, Ahankara. Look at the entire antakaranam as Brahman only. But remember that antakara is mithya, and when the antakaranam is seen as mithya, the mind is seen as mithya. When you look at your whole mind as mithya, whatever problems you have, they appear only in the mind as a vritti. So it's a very important idea he's saying. You are Brahman, and there is a instrument which you have called antakaranam which you are using. The degree of reality between the antakaranam and you is different. You are Satyam, the antakaranam is Mithya. You are Paramarthika Satyam, the antakaranam is Vyavaharika Satyam, it is Mithya. It is of a lower level of reality than you are. And anything which is of a lower level of reality than you cannot affect you. Just like the dream tiger cannot affect the waking person. Similarly, the dream problems in your antakaranam should not be able to affect you. Remember that every problem is a vritti only, is a thought. Your anger is a vritti. Your irritation is a vritti. Your jealousy is a vritti. Your worries, they are all vritti. Everything is a modification of the antakaranam. Right? Mental problems will begin if you take all this as satyam. As long as you have this very clear idea that, okay, I am Brahman, I am the Satyam, I am Atma, I am Satyam, and I am not going to be affected by the thoughts in the mind. Yes, the mind is being affected, but I am different. And therefore, the Satyam Mithya idea has to be maintained, right? If you take the mind as Mithya, you can transact, have all the transactions you want, have all the enjoyments you want, any sadness and sorrow which is there in the mind, you will experience them, yes, but they will not remain afterwards as a burden, right? Therefore, mental problems begin when I forget this idea and take the mind as Satyam. Therefore, the teaching is that decide not to get disturbed. You make a decision that I will not get disturbed, and then only you will find that nothing can disturb you. So he says, Sarva Vrittinam Nirodha. You should control all the mental functions. Keep them minimal, the minimum required for your transactions. Okay. But remember, Manomaya and Pranamaya are interconnected. So when the mind slows down, the breathing becomes normal. Right? What do we do in normal pranayama? We control the breathing, and then through that, we try to make the mind quiet. So here he says, Sarva Vrittinam Nirodha. Don't worry about that. First, focus on the mind. Forget about your breathing. Focus on the mind. When you have focused on the mind, when you have realized, when you are convinced the mind is mithya and the thoughts in the mind cannot affect you, you are doing the reverse process. You are quietening the mind down. When the mind quietens down, you will find that your breathing also becomes slower. Right? This is the exact opposite of yogic pranayama. In yogic pranayama, what happens? You control the prana and then control the mind. Here you control the mind. The control of the mind leads to quietening of the, you control the mind, quietening of the prana, quietening of the breathing. Right? And how to do this pranayama? Because this is Vedantic pranayama. How does one exercise control of the mind? It is only through Jnanam alone. So you start from Vijnanamaya, which is your intellect, where the Jnanam resides. Through the Vijnanamaya, the Manomaya is controlled. Through the Manomaya, because of the control of Vijnanamaya and Manomaya, you will find that Pranamaya is controlled. In yogic pranayama, control takes place through, if you actually want to speak it, through the lower kosha, that's the pranamaya kosha. But in Vedantic pranayama, control starts from the upper kosha, the Vijnanamaya kosha. Both systems are important for us because in the beginning, you cannot take control of the Vijnanamaya kosha. Therefore, and of course, you need a quiet mind. The Pranamaya kosha is more amenable to control. Therefore, for a beginner, you start with Pranamaya kosha and control the Manomaya. For advanced students, you start with Vijnanamaya kosha, manipulate the Manomaya kosha, and therefore the Pranamaya improves. That is why you say, as the mind refines through Vedanta, the bodily health also improves because you can see Vijnanamaya kosha controls Manomaya kosha, manipulates Manomaya kosha. Manomaya kosha means your mental health is improving. Manomaya kosha manipulates Pranamaya kosha. Pranamaya kosha is connected to Annamaya. As Pranamaya is manipulated, Annamaya also gets manipulated, and therefore your physical health also improves. So through Vedanta also, you can control your mental and physical health. And this method is pranayama sauchyate. This method is called Vedantic pranayama. Which method? Sarva vrittinam nirodha. Controlling the mind by controlling the Vijnanamaya kosha through Jnanam. Vijnanamaya kosha manipulates the Manomaya kosha. Manomaya kosha manipulates Pranamaya kosha. Pranamaya kosha manipulates Annamaya kosha. All the four koshas are affected. It's very important karika. Any questions? No. All right. So we go to verse number 119. We shall chant. Please unmute yourself. Nishedhanam prapanchasya
निषेधनं प्रपञ्चस्य
प्रपञ्चस्य
रेचाख्य समीरणः
रेचकास्मीरणः
रेचाख्यसमीरणः
रेचकाख्य समीरणः
रेचकाख्यसमीरणः
रेचकाख्यसमीरणः
ब्रह्मैवास्मीति या वृत्तिः
ब्रह्मैवास्मीति या वृत्तिः
पूरको वायुरीरितः
पूरको वायुरीरितः
वायुरीरितः.
So Shankaracharya talks about the three aspects, Puraka, Kumbhaka and Rechaka. Right. So Yoga Shastra says Puraka is inhaling, Rechaka is exhaling, and Kumbhaka is holding. Of what? Of the prana, of the air. But here he says, look at the words. Nishedhanam prapanchasya rechaka akhyaha. The rejection, nishedhanam, the rejection of prapancha, of the entire mithya universe, that is called rechaka. Rechaka akhya. Akhya means named. So rechaka akhya. The rejection of the whole creation, the understanding of the entire universe as mithya, that is called rechaka. Right? So what do we exhale in yogic pranayama? We exhale the carbon dioxide. Right? What do we exhale in Vedantic pranayama? You exhale the whole creation, which consists of raga, dvesha, kama, krodha. Everything is exhaled. right? So that word samiranaha actually means vayu. So nishedhanam prapanchasya, the rejection of the entire world as mithya, you have to supply as mithya. Rechaka samiranaha akhya is called Rechaka Vayu. It's called the Rechaka of the Vayu. It's called the Rechaka of the exhalation of the air, which is called Rechaka, right? Which is called Rechaka in Yoga Shastram. Equivalent to that is what? Prapanchasya Nishedhanam. Negation of the whole world, entiring the whole world and understanding the whole world as Mithya. This is called Rechaka Pranayama. Vayu here means Pranayama. Rechaka Akhya Samiranaha is called Vayu, Rechaka Pranayama. Then Brahmaiva Asmi iti yavrittihi Purako Vayur Ritaha. Aham Brahma Asmi. Brahmaiva Asmi. Aham Brahma Asmi. The Yavrittihi, that thought. The thought that I am Brahman, Puraka Vayu Riritaha, is called Puraka Vayu, is called the inhalation. See the beauty. The thought that Jagat is Mithya is Rechaka, exhalation. The thought that I am Brahman, that is inhalation, that is Puraka. Okay, now we will look at verse number 120. We will chat. Tatastad vrittinaishchalyam
ततस्तद्वृत्तिनैश्चल्यम्
सत्यम्
kumbhakah prana samyamaha
कुम्भकः प्राणसंयमः
प्राणसंयमः
ayam chapi prabuddhanam
अयं चापि प्रबुद्धानां
jnanam grana पीडनम.
अज्ञानं घ्राणपीडनम्
ज्ञानपीडनम्.
There is something which we should recall here from the last verse. Brahma Satyam thought is Puraka and Jaganmithya thought is Rechaka. What are we doing? We are doing meditation which is called Nididhyasanam, right? Vedantic pranayama is nothing but Nididhyasanam. Now, if I have to know that Jagat is Mithya and Brahman is Satyam, I should have completed Shravanam and Mananam. So that caveat is there. Before you come to this stage, Shravanam, Mananam is over. Now it is Nididhyasana. So having completed Puraka and Rechaka, Shankara goes on to Kumbhaka. What is Kumbhaka? Kumbhaka is retention of the vritti. So whichever vritti you retain, I mean, we are talking about two vrittis only here. What are they?
Brahma Satyam. I am Brahman.
Brahma Satyam,
And
Jaganmithya. There are two vrittis. So you can retain any one of these vrittis. Whichever vritti you retain, that is called Kumbhaka. Kumbhaka is retention of Vayu. Here it is retention of vritti. So after the thought that Aham Brahmasmi, Tataha, after the vritti, Aham Brahma Asmi, what should happen? Tat vritti Naischalyam. Naischalyam means steady, right? Naischalyam is steady. So a steady continuation of that vritti should be there. And we can recall the sixth chapter, Yatha Dipo Nivatastaha. Just as a flame in a windless place does not flicker, that's what he means by Tada Tad Vritti Naishalyam. The mind with the thought that Aham Brahma Asmi should be very steady. And what is this? Kumbhakaha Prana Sanyamaha. This is called Kumbhaka Prana. If I retain the vritti of Aham Brahmasmi, it is Kumbhaka. Okay, and to draw a parallel with Yoga Shastram, Kumbhaka is what? Aham Brahma. No, Puraka is what? Aham Brahmasmi. So if you are retaining the Aham Brahmasmi vritti, remember that in yogic terms, you have to add an adjective to the kumbhaka. Antara kumbhaka. Right? Now, if you are retaining the thought after the Jagan Mithya, after Jagan Mithya thought, if your thought is Jagan Mithya, remember that is Rechaka. So when you retain the thought after Rechaka, what is it called?
Bahya Kumbhaka.
Bhaya Kumbhaka. Shankara doesn't say this, but we can supply that. Kumbhaka after Puraka, which is Aham Brahmasmi, is Antara Kumbhaka. And Kumbhaka after Rechaka, which is Jagan Mithya, is Bahya Kumbhaka. Remember that in this Vedantic meditation, I can take either. I can take Aham Brahmasmi, I mean, I can think of Brahman or I can think of Jagat. There are only two things. Totally, what are there? Three things, right? I, Jagat, and Brahman. And when they all collapse, that is what is Vedanta. So in my Nidhi Dhyasanam, I can take Brahman or I can take Jagat. If I take Brahman, then the thought is Aham Brahmasmi, I am the Satyam only. I can take Jagat also. When I take Jagat, I have to accept that Jagat is Mithya. You cannot reject any intrinsic feature of the universe, right? So, in fact, that is why Jagan Mithya, it is better. It is always recommended that Jagan Mithya meditation should come first. Unless I can establish, accept the Jagat as Mithya, it is almost impossible for me to accept myself as Brahman. So first should come Jagan Mithya. Every intrinsic feature of the universe, the arrival and departure of my body, the Shadvikara on my body, my grey hair, no teeth, family members coming together, family members leaving me, death and destruction and disease. All these are what? Part of the Jagat. I should be able to accept them comfortably. And Jagan Mithyatva Nishchaya, therefore, has to be the first. Until Jagan Mithyatva Nishchaya is there, you will not be able to entertain Aham Brahmasmi Vritti with any conviction. Therefore, that is what we should do first. And he says, I am chapi prabuddhana. Prabuddha is a student who has advanced, who has done his Shravanam and done and completed Mananam. Therefore, he has no intellectual obstacles. No intellectual pratibandha is there. He has no doubts about what the Shastram says. He has no doubts about the fact that he is Brahman. Right? The Pramana Asambhavana is not there. Prameya Asambhavana is not there. What is there is emotional obstacles. Emotional obstacles arises out of your habitual thinking patterns. And that is what is addressed in Nididhyasanam. And so he says, of course, the word Ajnanam Grana Pidanam, it means that this pranayama gives trouble to the nose. It's a sarcastic way of saying that. The yogic shastra pranayama troubles the nose. Ajnanam Grana Pidanam. Right? Okay. When talking about pranayama, two more things are there. Of course, not mentioned in this karika, but we should in this verse, but we should know. Pranayama has two aspects. One is sagarbha pranayama, and one is agarbha pranayama. So garbha here refers to the mantra which is being chanted. So a mantra sahita pranayama. When you do pranayama with mantra, it is called sagarbha pranayama. When you do pranayama without mantras and numbers and whatnot, it's called agarbha pranayama. Right? The Shastric view is that sagarbha pranayama is better than Agarbha pranayama. Why? Pranayama with mantra is better than pranayama without mantra. What could be the
Chitta
reason?
Shuddhi.
Sorry?
Chitta Shuddhi because of that mantra.
Chitta Shuddhi is one reason, definitely. Any other reason?
So, Raviji, may I try?
Please, Nataraj.
Yeah, when you are saying a mantra in a proper tune, there is a timing associated. So your breathing and other things can get controlled by that time.
Correct. There's another thing. There's another reason. And the third reason is that when you are doing it with mantra, your attention is where towards the Lord. When you're doing it without mantra, your attention is on your body. And therefore, agarbha pranayama without mantras can result on increased focus on the body, increased deha abhimana. And therefore, Shastra says that pranayama should be done with mantra. The focus of the pranayama is not your mental and physical health. It is a spiritual well-being. Mental and physical health are byproducts. Right? It's like walking in the park is good for my physical health. But I can do the same walking as a pradakshina in the temple. It's a spiritual exercise, but I get the same mental and physical health. So that is why in our tradition you will find that anything you name, exercise, music, art, health, anything, having a baby, anything can be associated with the Lord, with religion. Okay, now we look at verse number 121. विषयेष्वात्मतां दृष्ट्वा
विषयेष्वात्मनां
मनश्चित्तिमज्जनम्
मनश्चित्तिमज्जनम्
प्रत्याहारसविज्ञेयः
प्रत्याहारसविज्ञेयः
अभ्यसनीयो मुमुक्षुभिः.
अभ्यसनीयो मुमुक्षुभिः.
So as you can see, it is the 12th anga, pratyaharaha. So literally, pratyaharaha is broken into prati aharaha. So aharaha is from the Sanskrit root ahara, which means to pull towards oneself or to withdraw, right? Prati means oneself. Ahara is pulling. So pratyaharaha is pulling towards oneself. What do you pull towards oneself? Your focus away from the objective world into yourself. What do we call this pratyahara in Vedanta? We have seen it in Tattva as Indriya Nigraha. Dhamma, correct. Indriya Nigraha. Remember in Yoga Shastram, what we are doing is when we are sitting for meditation, pratyahara is one of the stages, one of the angas, and you are withdrawing your sense organs. Right? You are physically withdrawing the sense organs so that the smell doesn't disturb you, the what you call words don't disturb you. You close your eyes so that sights don't disturb you. Now, going by the flow of what we have seen, Vedantic Angas, remember that Vedantic Dhamma is different. Yoga Shastra Dhamma means the sense organs have to be withdrawn. That is pratyahara. But Vedantic Dhamma, you don't withdraw anything. Supposing that you have a, let us say, glass of water in front of you. If I say withdraw from the glass of water, there are two ways of doing it. One is the Yoga Shastra way, which is what? Close your eyes and focus inside. So the glass of water is no longer in your vision. What is the Vedantic way?
Glass is also Brahman.
Basically, it is to understand the mithyatva of that Namarupa.
Yes. Do you remember a Drig Drish Viveka, one small Asti Bhati Priyam? Don't remember? Asti Bhati Priyam Nama Rupam Iti Amsha Panchakam. What does it mean? Asti, existence, Bhati, consciousness, Priyam, Ananda, Nama, Rupa. Asti, Bhati, Priyam, Nama, Rupam. Iti Amsha Panchakam. These are the 5 aspects of any Atma, any object. Very beautiful verse from Drigdasha Viveka. Existence, consciousness, Ananda, name and form. These are the 5 aspects of any object in this world. Adyatrayam Brahma Rupam. Tathodvayam. Remember, the first 3 are the aspects of Brahman. The last 2, Nama Rupa, are the attributes of Ananda. It's a very lovely little verse. And that verse you have to use here. When you see the glass, you are seeing Nama Rupa. If you eliminate the Nama Rupa, the Mithyatvam from the glass, what you are going to see is what? Existence, consciousness, and Ananda. And that is Brahman alone. Therefore, the Yoga Shastra way, you can close your eyes, the glass won't be there. In the Vedantic manner, you continue to see the glass, but recognize that the form and name of the glass are Nama Rupa, they are Mithya. What is really there is Brahman alone. Right? So, Yatra Yatra Mano Yati, Tatra Tatra Samadhaya. Another verse from Drig Drisha Viveka only. Wherever the mind goes, let it be in Samadhi. Samadhi here means seeing Brahman. That is all that you need to do. And Shankaracharya says elsewhere in Gita Bhashyam, he says that you need not turn inwards for anything. Just learn to see Brahman in everything as the very existence principle. Anything which exists, it means what? The fact that you say it exists, it means Brahman is there. Learn to see Brahman as the Sat Vastu, as the existence principle of everything. And this is called open eyes pratyahara, Vedantic pratyahara. Just learning to recognize the mithyatvam of any object and learning to appreciate the satyatvam, the atma aspect of every object. So that's what he says here. Vishayeshu, in any object, atmatam drishtva. You should see the atma, you should see Brahman in every object. Don't look at the namarupa. The namarupa is empty. It cannot give you any security at all. It cannot give you any fulfillment. It is like the mirage lake in the desert. It can't quench your thirst. It appears there, but it's only a delusion. And if you extend this towards all objects, you will find that no object in the world can give you any sort of permanent ananda. The ultimate joy is gained only from Brahman, and then that Brahman is what we call Sat and Chit. And the wonderful portion is that Brahman, that Sat Chit, which is the source of all Ananda, is you yourself. And therefore, the understanding, the vritti, Aham Brahma Asmi, is sufficient to keep me totally happy all the time. I can allow all the Namarupas to exist inside me because I am Sat. The Namarupas cannot be used for support, but they can be used for enjoyment. So he says, Manasaha iti majjanam. Majjanam means to get absorbed in, to immerse. Manasaha iti majjanam. You have to supply Atma over here. You have to absorb, immerse the Manasaha in the Atma or in Brahman. And for this, there is no need to close your eyes. It is not that you have to go into all the Panchakoshas and after you all the 5 koshas are over, then you will find Atma. That is not correct. Atma is the very existence available in any object, including your own body and mind. Right? So that is the existence part of it. And sa pratyahara vigneya, turning to that existence and consciousness principle, that is pratyahara. Vigneya means you should understand that as pratyahara. And saha mumukshubhihi abhyasaniyo. Abhyasa should be done of this particular Vedantic meditation, Vedantic pratyahara, by whom mumukshubhi is the one who wants to get moksha. Okay, now we go to the next verse, verse number 22. Yatra yatra mano yati
Yatra
यत्र यत्र मनो याति
brahmanastatra darshanat
ब्रह्मणस्तत्र दर्शनात्
दर्शनात्
naso dharanam chaiva
मनसो
मनसो
धारणं चैव
धारणं चैव
dharana sa paramata.
धारणा सा परामता.
धारणमता.
So Shankara takes up the 13th anga. We had said totally 15 angas. We are now on the 13th anga. And this is dharana. In Yoga Shastra, what is the difference between dharana and dhyanam?
Short time concentration and
Hello,
It's very
Raviji.
important. Haji, Natarajan ji, boliye.
One where effort is required, another where effort is not required.
Absolutely. So it's a wonderful answer. In dharana, when you focus your mind, to keep the focus going, your effort is required. When through long practice, the effort falls away and the concentration is effortless, that is called dhyanam. Right? This is the Yoga Shastra, dharana and dhyana. So Yoga Shastra focuses on turning your attention away from the world into yourself. If I am going to focus on the Shivalinga and meditate upon it, then I have to withdraw from the masala dosa. Right? I can't do both. And Shankaracharya says, why do you want to not focus on the masala dosha? Shankara is very practical. He says, masala dosha is fine. Focusing on Brahman does not need turning away from the masala dosha. You look at the masala dosha and say, Namarupa is mithya, what remains is Brahman alone. So see the gold. I need not turn away from the necklace. Only if Brahman is one of the objects of creation, then I have to turn away from the other objects if I want to concentrate on Brahman. But what did we say? In every single object, Adhyatrayam Brahma Rupa. Existence, consciousness, and Ananda is available in every object. And existence, consciousness, and Ananda is Brahman. And I know through experience that at least I know about existence and consciousness. Sat and Chit is there in every single object. Ananda is more difficult to understand, but Sat and Chit is there in every single object. And therefore he says, Yatra yatra mano yati, wherever the mind goes, tatra tatra Brahmana darshanat, you will definitely find that Brahman is there. To focus the mind, and a very, very beautiful little line. Wherever the mind goes, remember that Brahman is to be found there. You don't have to focus the mind away from any object. Look at everything, enjoy everything. Just reduce them all to mithya. And manaso dharanam chaiva. This kind of darshanam is called dharana. What kind of darshanam? Where I am reducing whatever I see into mithya and remembering that it is Brahman alone. And sa paradharana mata. Paradharana. That kind of that dharana is called the superior dharana. Why superior? Because he is comparing to Yoga Shastra dharana, which is a lower dharana. Higher dharana is constant awareness of Brahman. Okay, verse number 123. Brahmaivasmiti sadvritya
ब्रह्मैवास्मीति सद्वृत्त्या
niralambataya sthitihi
निरालम्बतया स्थितिः
dhyana shabdena vikhyata
ध्यानशब्दे विख्याता
ramanandadayini.
परमानन्ददायिनी
He takes up the 14th aspect, dhyanam. So in dhyanam, in Yoga Shastra, we say that when effort has gone, there is a consistent flow of one thought, and that is dhyanam. The convergence of all thoughts into one particular aspect, that is called dhyanam. So it can be anything. It can be any object, it can be chakra, it can be mantra, anything. But in Vedanta, what is the object? Brahmai va asmi. Brahmai va asmi iti sthitihi. Shankara says, Brahmai eva asmi iti sthitihi. I am Brahman. Aham Brahma asmi. And not just that. Aham Brahma eva asmi. Brahmaiva. Aham Brahma eva asmi. I am Brahman alone. Sadvrittya. This is Satvritti. Remember, this is not a visualization. Right? When I do upasana, and if I am saying I am Brahman, I am invoking Brahman on my own body. Right? If I am doing upasana on Saligramam, I am invoking Vishnu on the Saligramam. If it's on Shivalingam, I am invoking Shiva on Shivalingam. This is all visualization. There is no knowledge involved. Even when I do Ahangraha Upasana, when I invoke Brahman on myself, knowledge is not involved. I am invoking Brahman on myself. It's visualization. But here, post your Shravanam and Mananam, you are not doing a visualization. You are invoking the knowledge which Shravanam and Mananam have given you. So, in Ahangra Upasana, I am invoking Brahman on myself. It is not, Brahman is not a fact for me. But in this Aham Brahmasmi Vritti, Nididhyasanam, I am Brahman is a fact for me. It is not a visualization at all. It is Jnanam. And therefore he says, Niralambataya. Alambanam is a support. Niralambataya, without any other object, to the exclusion of all other objects, including your body and mind. Iti sthitihi, remaining in the thought that I am Brahman. Dhyana Shabdena Vikhyata is called, is what is indicated by the word Dhyanam. This attitude of saying I am Brahman, invoking the Jnanam which I have got, and iti sthitihi, remaining in that Jnanam, Niralam Bataya, without including any other thought, any other object, remaining in that idea for a period of time, for a length of time. Dhyana Shabdena Vikhyata. This alone is indicated by the word Dhyanam. This is called Vedantic Dhyanam. And what is the advantage? Paramananda Dayini. This particular practice, it gives you great ananda. Paramananda. Dayini means gives. Why? Because I am owning up my completeness. I am owning up my Purnatvam. Remember that when I say it gives me Ananda, you have to understand very carefully, okay? The Jnanam, the thinking does not give me any Ananda, given in inverted brackets. Does not give me any Ananda. Why?
It's already there.
Because I am
Because
already
I am
Satchitananda.
Ananda.
I am already Ananda. Therefore, Paramananda Dayani means it makes me aware of the Ananda which I already am. The lack of knowledge, the Ajnanam, is what is keeping that Ananda away from me. So to say, depriving me of the Ananda. But when I own up that I am Brahman, it is as if I have got the Ananda. It is as if I have gained the Ananda. So the last Anga is Samadhi, that still remains, but I don't think we have enough time for that today. So if you have any questions, we can look at them. You're seeing the huge difference between Yoga Shastric, Ashtanga and Vedantic 15 Angas. Very, very important little work.
Acharya, it's so beautiful and just eye-opening. It's really beautiful to know.
We owe a lot to Shankaracharya actually. Okay, so with this, we'll stop for today. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Om Tat Sat
Thank you
Om
so
Namah
much.
Shivaya.